start the base dovetails for the base mold. I've got 3 pieces here, and I've planed it all and ripped it to the width, cross-cut it to length, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start here with this corner, and the first step is to scribe with a cutting gauge here, to scribe around, set it to the thickness of the stock, and scribe it around the outside end here, marking the baseline. If you recall earlier, you would have seen the baseline on the original dovetails. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tails on the trim piece on the face. If you'll notice here, right here, you can see that the tails are on the side piece. Well, the reason why I'm going to change it and put the tails on the front here is that will help lock that whole case piece together by alternating that dovetail, and it will be good and solid. So the first step is to go ahead and cut the tails on the long piece, but before we do that, we've got to lay it out. And one thing I want to do is I want to get the same angle that the craftsmen of old used here. So the craftsmen used a fairly steep angle, which is common for the softwood. It's common to use a steeper angle. So I'm just going to kind of average what he's done. It was fairly evident that these dovetails were cut obviously by hand, but also by eye, because none of the corners matched up. They were all unique to each individual corner. So I'm going to go ahead and try to match it. Looks like that angle is very consistent there. It's a fairly steep angle, again for soft wood. So
the next step here is to just cut the tails with a dovetail saw. And then cope out the waist. I'm going to chop out the tails with the same chisel that was used by the craftsman 200 years ago, this 1/4-inch chisel to chop out the waist, undercutting it just like he did right here, working from both sides, which is exactly what that craftsman would have done. He would have worked from both sides, meeting in the middle. And now what we'll do is we'll transfer these tails onto the other piece, onto the pin board. And now we'll cut the pins. And now we'll cut the pins. Again, I'm using all of the same tools that would have been used by the craftsman who built this piece 200 years ago. The same type of saws, the same type of planes, same type of chisels. Now I'm going to remove the waste. Moment of truth. A nice tight corner, and now the next step here is to run a mold along this top edge. So we're going to run a mold using a molding plane, much like the craftsman would have done. And that'll add a decorative edge to this edge, and you'll see it will also help thin this out visually, and it also helps allow the dust to be able to kind of fall off the edge, as opposed to this big flat ledge right here, which could collect dust. I think this profile will work perfectly. These planes are quite interesting. This plane actually is what we call a sprung plane. The angle is right there. It's called a spring angle, and it's marked on the plane. There's a line going there and a line going there. So I'm going to hold the plane at that angle. I'm going to cut a little base out of the bottom, a little decorative element here out of the bottom, just to add a little interest. You know, some of these six-board chests would have had a little decorative element to the base, and they would have varied. So I'm going to use I'm going to use a bow saw here to just cut out the waste. There it is. And we'll do that on the long one, and then we'll clean it up. What I'm going to do now is just go ahead and smooth this up with a spoke shave, which is essentially like a plane with a much shorter sole on it. Well, I think we're ready to put the bottom back on the piece. I'm going to put it exactly the same place it went, and we will try to use some of the same nails as well. I'll have to see how they grab in the material here. One of the reasons why the craftsman would have used nails, and you'll notice that I'm not gluing this, is because wood expands and contracts in this direction, and the nails actually allow the wood to be able to move. There'll be some flex, and if I glued this, the glue would keep the wood from moving in this direction. Okay, I think we're ready to glue. I've applied some glue blocks, and you'll see how these come into play. But these are essentially blocks that would have been traditional to this period of furniture construction for the base to actually sit on. It gives it extra stability and actually helps hold the base, the base in place. What we're going to do is just use the hide glue and glue the base up. The thing I love about hide glue is it allows the joint to come together. The glue actually lubricates the joint and pulls it together beautifully. So here's the base, and now what we can do is put that onto the actual piece. There's a couple ways to attach this base. I could apply a little glue, but I think I'm going to nail it. I think that's going to be the best way. That would be how the original base was attached. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill a couple holes, and we'll nail this in place.